All right. And we are back with the new Black with No Cream podcast. New episode every single Wednesday and Sunday. I'm your host, Ben Haggerty, a.k.a. Ben Real Verse World. Coming to you live from the Black with No Cream office, the new office. We are 3 weeks old. It feels great to be in here again. I know I've said it a few times. I'm going to keep fucking saying it because this is a proud month for me right here to have this space. Today's special guest is my good friend and touring road dog, Andrew White. Andrew is based out of New York City and has worked with some of the biggest artists, celebrities, and publications in the world, including Beyonce, Jay-Z, Tom Hardy, Michael B. Jordan, Jordan Peele, Virgil, the New York Times, Wired Magazine, Levi's. There's so many people. This person's worked with so many people, artists, like all that shit. Like Andrew's crazy, yo. I met Andrew at the beginning of our rehearsals for Coachella, which, by the way, that documentary comes out tomorrow night at midnight, or Wednesday the 17th. I don't know. Whenever you're hearing this, that's when it comes out. It'll be out already. So make sure to check out Homecoming, the documentary. Your boy shot some of that shit. You feel me? It's about Coachella with Beyonce. Fucking crazy. Can't believe that's a movie now. That's nuts. So anyway, go watch that. We did Coachella together, and then we lived on a bus touring the world together for the On the Run 2 tour with Beyonce and Jay-Z. Andrew is unbelievably talented. This dude is a beast when it comes to shooting, creating. His eye for photography is out of this world. So definitely stay tuned for this shit because his career as a photojournalist, commercial photographer is next level, and you're going to learn so much. Break your wrist. Andrew Sandler's calling me. Come on, man. I'm recording the intro of this podcast right now. We got new merch. I'm wearing the hat. You see the mug right now in the video. I'm wearing the Creator long sleeve tee. If you guys want some merch, go get some. BWNC.com/shop. The shit is off the chain. I still say off the chain. So if you would like to support us and what we're doing here at Black with No Cream, yeah, go get yourself some merch. We're pretty proud of this shit. It's fucking unbelievable. Got a whole store full of cool apparel. We really want to thank everyone that's supporting us on Patreon as well. You guys are crazy for doing that. You're keeping the lights on in this podcast studio. So yeah, thank you for contribution on that. If you guys want to support us on Patreon, please do. Patreon.com/BlackWindowCream. We are redefining the tier levels, and we're going to make them so much better very soon. So if you're already supporting on Patreon, it's going to get better for you. If you're going to support on Patreon, you can do it now and get all the dope perks, and then when we launch that shit, it's going to be even more exciting for you because we want to make you guys happy. You know, we really appreciate your support, so we want to make it worth your while. Yeah, that's really it. I don't know. Black with No Cream. If you want to join the private community, you can do that. BWNC.com/join. We are here for all creators of all kinds. Photographers, videographers, music people, anything you can think of creative, that's what we support. That's what our community supports. It's the best, biggest online community for creators that exists. And it's the best educational place and place to find motivation in the world. So you should, join our community. We would love to fucking have you. Please join. That's it. Enjoy the work week. Keep creating. Make sure to tune in every single Wednesday and Sunday for a new Black with No Cream episode. And without further ado, I bring to you my interview with Andrew Whitey. In the best motherfucking intro that you've ever heard in your entire life, right? Motherfucking now.
Attention.
If you stop this podcast recording at any time, you will die.
I don't want to die.
Do you want to live?
You have 24 hours to share this podcast with 5 people or you will die.
I'm kidding, you won't die. You're just weak shit for not sharing.
And the winner of the best motherfucking podcast goes to...
Black with No Cream.
What do you think?
It's so fucking dumb and so fucking Ben Haggerty.
I knew you would say that. And we're back with another Black with No Cream podcast. Andrew Whitey is on the fucking show today.
Happy to be here.
Are you happy to be here, dude?
I am happy to be here, yeah.
This was a spur of the moment podcast recording because we just were planning to get lunch, and then lunch turned into, let's do an episode real quick.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
That's how it goes. Andrew is an incredible, I'm talking too loud, sorry guys, I'm mixing this shit on the fly. Andrew's an incredible photographer. We met on the OTR2 tour. Actually, no, we met Coachella.
Yeah.
Coachella. We did Coachella together. And we've been road dogs since the jump of that shit. Pound it, swag, super sense. But we got to know each other pretty well over the 8 months. I don't know how long that
basically
duration is.
8 months. Yeah, we're most of 2018.
Right. Yeah.
On the road.
I had Robin on here before. Now I have
Good
you.
homie.
Now I need Raven.
Yeah.
And
I
that's it. Then I get the trio.
Totally.
There was 3 photographers on that tour.
Sorry.
You being one of them. Then there was me and Dave doing video.
Yep.
Then Julian and Irie. And then we had Amadou and
Cecile.
Fucking in France and Paris and all that shit. Shaquana too. Damn,
Good homie.
We had everyone on that
Yeah.
shit. Our bus was the shit though.
Yeah.
Bus
Shout
7.
out to Bus 7.
Was it 7 or 6?
No, we were Bus 7.
Bus 7.
Yeah.
Anyway, could you let the people know a little bit about like who you are, what you do, people you work with? This dude works with a lot of fucking dope brands and artists and celebrities, and you just kind of like stun on me. I remember Coachella the day you came. You came and I was like in the back room or something. You walked in and you just like had your camera shit on, your long hair, and you was like, "What's up, man?" I was like, "Hey," and then you knew everyone from because you had toured with B before.
Totally. Formation tour 2016.
And I was like, "Fuck, I'm gonna get beat out by someone else. Like, there's more creators that they're bringing in now." And I thought I was doomed. And then you like came up to me and you were like, "Yeah," and I was like, "So do you shoot concert stuff?" You're like, "Nah, I do more like editorial shit and like random stuff like this." And then you just like flex and show me like this ill shot. I don't remember who it was, but it was for the Times. Who, Denzel? Did you shoot Denzel?
Yeah, I shot Denzel and Michael B. Jordan for a
Michael B. Jordan.
it was like a feature.
He just like shows me these pictures, and I was like, "All right, fuck my life." Damn, I'm getting Knicks tomorrow.
Nah, we're all same team.
It was same team. But anyway, tell people like I just flexed for you a little bit.
It's fun. No, man. Like I suck at flexing. So I'm Andrew. I'm born and raised in Santa Monica, California. Came up. My dad was a photographer, so my brother and I always had cameras around. So it was just sort of one of these like things that just shooting became just sort of a second nature activity. Like whether we were like going camping and road trips, our dad was like, "Yeah, here's a fun saver, like take some pictures." Actually, like, won my first photo contest in first grade. It was like
really?
Yeah. We went to Canyon de Chelly, New Mexico, which are these it's basically like ruins in the side of a cliff, and I basically took a photo that probably everyone else takes, but like just submitted it to this like literally elementary school kind of thing. And
at your school, or it was like for all
my school,
elementary
it was
kids?
Stupid. It was like I got like second place, and I was
Damn,
like, cool,
that's tight.
Yeah.
Was it film? You shot on film?
Yeah. It was like 1993.
Right.
Definitely like dating myself right now. But no, it's like I've always sort of been around cameras and photography, and so yeah, I don't know.
But now, who are some of the people before we get into childhood? We'll get there.
Sorry,
no, you're good.
Skipping ahead.
I like before he did this, he said he's never done an interview ever.
Yeah, this is all new to me. I'm sorry.
Popping that cherry right now. Wait.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's chill. I told you it's just chill.
Yeah, currently I shoot a lot of portraits. Typically like features on artists, musicians, creatives. My main sort of bread and butter in New York is the New York Times. I've been shooting for them for about 4 or 5 years. I definitely have like learned a lot about my craft and sort of what I like working on through assignments through them. Like my first assignment ever was covering the New York City Marathon in 2014. So like that was like a sports assignment. And for a while I was kind of hopping around doing these different sports assignments. This was before I ever shot like a real portrait ever. And then, a couple years later I ended up getting an assignment for the Metro section of shooting a portrait of this guy they needed photos of this guy from a gas station. It was like a labor strike issue. And, ended up, you realize they're like, oh, I have to direct this. I have to like tell this guy where to go, where to stand, find the good light. And I sort of did it, filed the photos, and I don't know, someone noticed it there and like, hey, you might have a knack for this. And I started getting more of these portrait assignments, and that's now kind of all I do.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's been a kind of, because so I basically moved out to New York in 2011 to go to school for photojournalism. So I kind of envisioned myself working on these like long-term reportage stories where you're like looking for moments. You're kind of standing back and waiting for the action to unfold in front of you.
Right.
And so the idea of shooting portraits wasn't really even in my sort of like brain at the, it was like
docu style.
Yeah. I was like, I want to find moments. Like, I don't want to direct. Like, I want to see these like real life moments as they're happening. And then you kind of realize like a part of that is sort of, you can tell someone's reality through directing a photograph of someone, whether it's where you're placing them, like what's around them. Like, a photograph, like a portrait in itself is a document because you're trying to sort of tell something about someone through, X, Y, and Z. Like there's all these different factors that sort of go into it. But yeah.
But when you were when you did the marathon, so were you saying like the job was to get portraits of people that were there?
No. So this was like a full reportage assignment. So,
which is kind of in line with what you thought you were going to do.
Yeah. And I think I did a pretty good job. Like the next day in the paper, I had, three column spreads, which is, you basically, you open the paper, boom, boom. So yeah,
That's tight.
Yeah, it was cool. It was exciting.
Did you keep that shit?
I do, yeah. I've tried to like hold on to, like newspaper like tear sheets and stuff, but after a while they start
when you start doing so many guys.
Well, you shoot for a newspaper for 4 or 5 years, you end up having like a few hundred of these. So like after a while, I just
you look like a fucking hoarder.
Yeah. I try to keep it minimal. Try to Marie Kondo, things out of my life. If it's not bringing me joy, it's fine. I have the memories.
Yeah, that's true.
And digital tear sheets.
Yeah, right. Makes sense.
Which they send out now. It's been a sort of, actually even before doing any of the time stuff, which is funny is like back when I was living here, I was shooting, should we go to this? Sorry,
we can't fucking take it there. Take me there. I'll guide us after you spill your guts.
You got us because I'm.
No, what were you gonna say? Before that, you were in LA.
So I'd say I kind of like learned more the technical aspect of photography shooting concerts and like shows in LA, and I used basically like around 2008, 2009. I got my first DSLR. My mom got it for me for my birthday. It was like a Rebel T1i, and it came with an 18 to 55 kit lens, but I kind of came from the world of like shooting on fixed lenses, just so pick a focal length and just stick with it. So I ended up getting a 28 millimeter, which was like a 50. That's all I shot on for 3.5 years, and basically like kind of learned how to shoot digitally at least, just by reaching out to all these music blogs in LA, because like my background, like I'm like a music junkie. It's I just take in a lot of music. I'm constantly listening to them, constantly like researching bands, like very was like into the indie scene in 2008, 2009, and still I'm kind of on the prowl just for like the best new shit that comes out, and just so I don't know, it was like an amazing opportunity to sort of be in that world and document.
You were getting like they were letting you shoot for them, like the blogs and shit?
Yeah, I mean I wasn't getting paid though, that's the thing.
Yeah,
it was like but I was getting access, which in photography, like, and especially photojournalism, everything's about access. If you can have access to a subject, you can work that and turn that into
3 jobs.
Yeah, straight up.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. So
me and Dave did a morning roast episode. We do like those on Wednesdays. Where we'll like deep dive into a topic or whatever. And the title was like how to turn 1 job into 3 or something like that. And it was just all about parlaying a gig. Like you might get, it might be a shitty rate, but that job could get you these 3 jobs.
You never know. Yeah. You got to keep an open mind with these things and just kind of say yes.
So you did a lot of, damn, that's crazy. I didn't know that. What blogs do you remember who you were working with?
One was called Beat Crave. That was like the one that sort of, she hired me, like, cause I wasn't getting paid, but this woman, Serafina, we met online. I think I reached out to them. I was like, hey, like, I just want to take pictures. Like, this is, I want to see shows. I want to take pictures. I want to look for moments. She's like, cool. Like, and so like every weekend I'd be going out to like Echo Park and going out to the Echo and be like, okay, there's these shoots we want to cover, or these shows we want to cover. Just shoot them, send the photos the next day. And it was, like an amazing sort of learning experience because it kind of got me outside of the bubble of, just looking at your own photos. You all of a sudden have someone else looking through them and being like, cool, we like this, we don't like this, do more of this, like this isn't working. And sort of starts to like form a, I don't know, a opinion, or not opinions, but
it's just good critique.
It's like, it's like critique.
That's great critique, and you can like kind of learn from that, and then be like, oh, cool, they really seem to gravitate towards this type of style. Maybe if I murder that, then I can expand or whatever.
And also shooting with stage lights, you start to realize what you want to see in the real world, like because there's this different qualities of light, like something might be backlit and you're like, oh man, I'm finding myself shooting a lot of backlit shots. Like how can I sort of parlay that into like a shoot in the real world
Right.
that doesn't have stage lights, and it just sort of gets your mind thinking about
That's interesting.
lighting and
So
where to find it.
it's kind of a good tip right out the gate, because what you're talking about, I feel like a super common question for up and coming
Yeah.
shooters are like, how do I shoot shows? And yours was just starting to like cold email
Yeah.
people that may have access to the shows, which I don't know how that works now. I don't know if people care that blogs are reporting on their shows. I feel like they should, but I don't know how big blogs are.
Well, so I mean, consider that this was 2009, so this was before Instagram. So
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like
Instagram sort of changed everything.
Yeah.
So, you know, like you would learn about new music by going to certain music blogs, and that, you know, there was probably a lot more traffic to those blogs back then. I think things have sort of been consolidated to like the few, you know, larger music blogs like Pitchfork, Fader, all those. But yeah, there used to be all these like small music blogs, and that's, yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious to see kind of what's changed with.
Well, I think now almost every artist has someone that's creating content on the fly that's coming out consistently.
Yeah.
Back then, it would be like maybe there would never, I don't know if there'd ever, with like a rapper, I don't think they were just having just a photographer on tour, because I feel like they all just wanted to show the glamorous life of what it is through video.
Totally.
And I remember video blogs coming out, and then photography being like the thumbnail.
Yeah, that would be sort of secondary.
Right, like that'd be a local shooter or someone, but like Complex Now or whoever, name any person like that, they're just like regurgitating content that we create for the artists and then just posting it like, oh cool, Andrew got a dope shot of Jay or whatever at this show, and they'll use that, and then they're just crediting you right away. They're not having, I don't think they're having to like pay a middleman anymore.
Yeah.
As often as they used to, because it's way more accessible, and cell phones have become, now they're literally just posting someone's, like I just saw a video of A$AP Rocky today, and it was like he was on stage and someone took his shoe, and it's like, don't take A$AP Rocky's shoe, because then he like went back and like was trying to get it out of the
someone
car.
took
his shoe off.
What?
Like it was like a really small stage, and he was just chilling, and I guess they grabbed his shoe.
No way.
And then they took it, and he like went and got it, and then he was just mad the rest of the time, like looking at the guy, like telling him to come on stage, but he like got on the ground and crawled away. But the whole video came from a fan that was in the crowd, and it credits the guy for like video credit, but he's just a fan. He's probably not a video creator or whatever. He just happened to catch the moment.
I mean, that's the world we live in now. That's how things get covered. Like even big news stories, like it's often someone's like cell phone video.
Right.
It's like boom, like eyes on the ground. Like this is how it happened.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can even like just the way algorithms now, you can just find out like what happened through a hashtag. Just
immediately.
Like, searching through it.
Yeah. It kind of makes it tough when you're on tour working for someone, or even at a show or festival, like we were just talking about when we were eating lunch, but it's like you're competing against everyone else's cell phone to try to get like a fire piece. Like you could take a moment from whatever event, and you might have the most HD artistic version of what people see actually on the internet. Like I hated seeing that, where I'd be like, oh cool, I caught this one dope moment, and then everyone's sharing the fan's point of view that's like grimy ass cell phone footage, and it's just like the same exact thing, but it's already been shared out, so no one's gonna reshare the ill version because they kind of already seen it. You know what I mean? No one really cares.
That's the sad part. I mean,
so
and
crazy.
that's the challenge, and that's kind of the cool part is you're like, okay, I have, you know, the tens of thousands of people like essentially trying to take this iconic shot. Like how can I how can I do something more conceptual, better, just more interesting? And yeah, I don't know, you sort of like
monopods.
Exactly. No one's
just
got
get in their way, literally. Yeah, that's a really interesting thing. I bet it would be kind of fun to shoot for like Dave Chappelle when he does those shows where he takes everyone's cell phones away.
Oh, he does that, huh?
He like takes like a plastic, he doesn't take your phone, but you put your phone in this bag that they created, and it like you cannot unlock it unless like a person does it for you.
Got it.
So no one can film his sets and post it early, which is cool.
That's cool. I wish there was more of that.
That'd be kind of hard in a show.
Oh yeah, if you're doing a Beyonce show with like 80,000 people, how do you organize? Yeah, how do you store 80,000 phones?
You don't store it. So they put it in a bag. You keep your phone. You can see what's on your phone, but you can't swipe or do anything, so that you wouldn't be able to open up and record.
Got it.
And then if you needed to, you'd have to go to like an escort, and they would like beep and unlock it for you, like if there's an emergency or whatever.
Sure.
But you'd have to leave the venue. So it's like set up so that these people can go do these practice runs and then do their special on HBO and not have their special completely fucked because it's on the internet already, which is sick.
Yeah, that is sick.
Which it would be so tight, because then you're literally, every photo you have or video from that show is like one of one, even though there's 80,000 people that could have caught it too. It
would change the experience of the show itself, because you're not looking through your phone, which is like such a bummer now. Like it's such a difference. Like even like if you go watch like old rock concerts and stuff, like
Bohemian Rhapsody,
exactly.
the movie is so incredible.
Watch the original Live Aid performance, and it's insane. Like everyone is under his control and just completely present. And now it's like, we're literally like looking through a screen at the show, and there's just this like crazy disconnect.
And people are just like, yeah, man, it's fucking crazy. It was always such a bummer to see. I don't remember who said it, and then I started like being like, all right, cool, that's acceptable. I think might have been Robin. He's like, if I'm walking through the pit and I want to step up on the riser to get a shot where I'm like a little bit higher, but I have to clearly stand in front of a fan. He's like, I'll do it to the people that are on their phone, but I will not do it if it's someone that's not on their phone and they're enjoying the show.
Absolutely.
He'll be like, fuck your phone. I'm going to get a better shot anyway. And you're like not even paying attention to this shit.
Yeah, like half the people there are just wanting content for their stories. Which
I get it. Like I'll go in, I like to go in and be like, oh cool, hey, I came here, or definitely I made it to the shit. Like or whatever. So I don't know, to validate that I made it, I guess. I don't know why I do it, but then try to enjoy the fucking show. Like I hated walking through the crowd and how many people they're texting and shit. They're not even like fucking, they might have, I bet what triggered them to text was because they filmed an Instagram video and then they saw they had like 5 missed texts and they're just like,
you're at the show.
And B's like right in front of them and they don't even know.
Oh man, I saw that so many times during the shows where like, she'd walk through and, B's very conscious of the crowd and, she looks for people who aren't on their phones and like often like will put her hand out or just like exchange a smile. And it's like, if you're on your phone, like you're not going to get that. You're missing out.
It's so 2 hours to just live in the world.
Just live in there. Get off your phone for 2 hours.
When was the last time you got on your phone at a movie theater?
Oh my God, imagine.
Like that's great. That's what the reality is. Like, why are we okay with not utilizing our phones there? And I get it. Like sometimes you have work or sometimes some shit happens. Like you gotta do it. That's fine. But like, I'm not filming the screen the whole time. Like I might be like, oh, I came to support this film. Like before it starts and then I never see my phone again.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. It's interesting. Anyway, random tangent.
Yeah, sorry.
It started in California.
Yes.
You started doing photography was that when your mom gave you that camera? Or just when your dad started like putting it in your, you just always had it?
I grew up around cameras. My dad was a photographer. He shot a lot of like stock photography back like in the 80s and 90s when that was a thing, like shooting images for like a textbook. He shot a lot of photos for like educational textbooks in the 90s, which my brother and I are actually like in a bunch because he would just cast us and our friends. Like I broke my leg when I was 10 years old. So for one of the shoots, they're like, oh, we need a photo of a kid getting his cast removed. He's like, sick. I'm gonna like turn that into a hustle.
That's so tight.
So there's like a photo of me getting like a real cast removed, and he just sort of finessed that.
That's such an interesting. You don't even think about, like, I know people do try to get like stock footage sold now and whatever, but you forget that like all of your biochem books and shit are like people's jobs. That's someone's jobs to capture all that shit. That's super interesting.
And those used to be mostly commissioned shoots, and now it's Google Images, you can basically license any photo off the internet, or there's, I don't know the name of the stock agencies, but it's that whole sort of business model changed.
Right. So does he still do it or no?
No. My dad's like 73 or 72. He chills. My dad's a trip. He's got all these different things going. He's got his hands in all these different pockets. I kind of based my like career path very much on sort of the way he did his whole career. Like never stayed doing like the same thing too long.
Right.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
I've always respected that.
So were you like ever, I don't know, going with him when he did those stock shoots or whatever, or like when did photography?
For sure. Well, often they would be happening at local businesses around Santa Monica, and often he would have me be like, hey, I need like, and would describe the sort of like people he was looking for. I'm like, oh yeah, you can use like my friends of mine. Yeah. Be like, cool, I'll give you like $10. I'm like, sick.
Tight. That's fucking dope.
Yeah, he's a shrewd.
I'll give you $10 and keep a fucking roof over your head.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, all right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But I got more back into it in high school. I did 2 years of like black and white photo class, but it's like I didn't shoot anything of substance. Everyone, when you're like in high school, I don't know, for me at least, like I felt like I was like living in this bubble, so like I didn't really know what to point my camera at.
Right.
So it's like I was taking pictures of like details of cars and streets and, you know, just typical, just low hanging fruit as far as like photo stuff. But I do miss working in a black darkroom, like enlarging prints, because that's just like this very meditative process where you're like, I don't know, you're creating something out of light and, you know, silver, which is kind of
I've never done it.
It's cool. If you ever get an opportunity to like, I don't know, do like a workshop or something, or print your own film or develop your own film, it's a very like hands-on process. I'd say in the digital world now, it's a bit antiquated, but it's not antiquated, but it's many extra steps of work for, you know, I'm sure I'll catch some heat for this, but, you know, it's like more or less like the same product. You know? I think there is a sort of special aspect to film. Like if you shoot something on film, there is something more tangible to it. I just don't have the patience anymore to. Yeah,
it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
and it's
I like shooting a lot. I like experimenting. It's a bit harder to sort of yield those sort of experimental digital results on film, because, you know, I only have like 36 exposures to get it right.
Yeah.
But I respect the hell out of anyone who shoots film. And
did you and your dad, like, did you guys bond over the fact that you were kind of into photography, or?
Yeah, for sure. He was stoked.
Was he helping you a lot at all?
Yeah, definitely. It just kind of coached. Well, it wasn't. It was more once I like started shooting assignments that he took me a little more serious and was like, "Oh, this is like something you're actually doing and making money at, and cool."
Which started when? The earliest time you thought? Can you remember when you started making money doing photography?
Probably once. Like I maybe did a few like behind the scenes like music video shoots in LA, but, you know, it was like making like $100 a day or something. And, you know, which I was stoked at the time. Like, someone's paying me to take photos. This is insane. And
you're like in the element of an artist that's probably a fan of or some shit.
Exactly.
Do you remember any of those?
I shot some behind the scenes stuff of this band Princeton, they were an indie band out of like Echo Park, Silver Lake, you know, East Side, maybe around 2010, 2009. And a couple of whom I randomly went to high school with and didn't realize that like once we got there, but that's
crazy.
Yeah, it's just random
some
small
California
world.
shit.
Yeah, some California shit.
Right. So then you start doing that, you're kind of falling in love with it or whatever, musically driven photo content almost.
Yeah, well, so the stuff I was mostly shooting so I was doing that as a sort of like side hustle, but what I was really shooting and trying to create a body of work was just shooting my friends. So I come from skateboarding. It's something I've been doing since.
And you're fucking good at skateboarding.
I'm all right. I'm not as good as Robin.
But yeah, Robin
rips.
Freaky as fuck. But I didn't know you guys, and Julian. Like,
Julian rips,
for some reason, everyone on our bus was actually like really, and I skated.
Derek Milton, rips.
Derek's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
like,
he's gnarly.
He was like pro.
He was at that level.
I think he was pro
for sure.
or something. He showed me some tape, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's so crazy!"
Yeah, dude, super good style.
Anyway, yeah, sorry, go on.
So
come from that background.
It's sort of the community I've surrounded myself around since basically high school.
Yeah.
So,
what's the scene? What's the skate scene?
Let me give
here?
you a little background info just to sort of transition to like 2010. So
I need to put this in this fucking black with no cream.
Yeah,
I look like a poser. God damn it. Go on.
So after high school, didn't go to college. My dream was to work in the skateboard industry. So through one of my buddies, Jesse, I ended up getting essentially like a production assistant role at this company called Dwindle Distribution, which is out of El Segundo and is the home to, at the time, like several skate brands, like Almost, Enjoy, Blind, World Industries, Dark Star, and they were also in the same building as Globe Shoes. So that was like, at 19, I'm like, this is
crazy.
This is where I want to work. These are like the people I want to be around. This is the culture. Like I just eat, drink, and breathe every day. Like this is.
And you were doing what there?
So I came in as a production assistant for the video department. So like they had me like helping with their like organizing old archives and stuff. And you know, I was like 19. I was like the youngest one there at the company. And eventually, like I basically like taught myself how to. I learned how to edit video, you know, under the instruction of several people I was working with. This guy Socrates, who's like a legend in the skateboarding world. He's like, you know, shot some of the most iconic like skateboarding in the early to mid 90s. And, you know, he's just like, yeah, this is how you cut video, man. It's it's pretty easy. And
It's just like this.
yeah. And so sort of through that, it's, I think I ended up working there for like 4 years. So like those were kind of my college years.
Were you, at that time, you were skating heavily as well?
Yeah, I'd skate every day on my lunch break. Like most people at the company like had some sort of connection to skateboarding, whether like they just used to skate, still skated, watched skateboarding. So, ended up, getting a work crew there, and we, all skate and shit.
But did you ever see yourself at that time, like when you were getting this job, did you think like, oh, I could be a professional skateboarder?
No.
You knew?
I knew from pretty early on, I didn't have what it took to be a pro. I'm just
clumsy as fuck.
I'm clumsy as fuck. I'm not coordinated, and we should get on the whole like injury.
Jesus
I have
Christ.
So many injuries I can talk about, but yeah, from early on, I just saw where I stood compared to like the rest of my peers, the rest of skateboarding. Like I have a cousin who's like a legendary pro skateboarder, Jeremy Ray.
That's tight.
Yeah, he's like huge in the mid 90s. He's like God level.
That's crazy.
So like I saw where I was, at age 19, where, if you're going to be pro, you're going to be doing certain tricks at a certain level. And I was just like not there. So it's fine.
Yeah, totally.
So, the next best thing for that is working in the industry.
Hell yeah.
And sort of through that, I learned how to shoot and edit video. I got to go on a few international trips. Like I went to China for a week made a whole video about like Dwindle's wood shop out there. Like it was pretty trippy. I was like there when I was like 21. I was like, this is insane.
So you were filming and editing at that point?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So made like a 7-minute video that they were like shown at sales meetings.
Right.
Like got to like see the whole process of how a skateboard's made.
Damn.
And this was like I think I shot that on a Panasonic DVX.
Right.
And that was like when 24p came out. Everyone's like, oh my God, you can make things look like film. And everyone was like cranking the white balance to make everything like orange.
That's so funny.
It was a funny era.
Is that online?
Yeah, it's online somewhere. I can probably pull
we'll find it.
Yeah.
Nikos, find that shit. So that's fucking nuts. Were you ever shooting skate videos?
So
or is that like another person's job?
I've like shot a few skate tricks of other people, but that is a specific skill set of like rolling fisheye.
Patience.
I was never good at it. And I'm also like, my body type, I'm like tall, short torso and long legs.
Yeah.
It's not good for like leaning down, trying to get those angles. And I never really shot photos of skateboarding too. I was more kind of fascinated with like the in-between moments, the sort of I don't know, these sort of archetypal moments that happen during our youth that sort of, I don't know, they're indicative of like things to come. And yeah, I don't know. I was always looking to sort of get something that sort of felt that way.
Were you going to shows too at the same time? Was that something mixed in with your scene?
The shows kind of happened after I got laid off from Dwindle. And so around 2006, this revolutionary website called YouTube comes out. And prior to that, a big portion of revenue from the skate industry wasn't from board sales, it was from skate videos. So, the kind of very dumbed down version of the way it works is, you have a skateboard team, they tour, go out and film video parts. In the end, everyone, and it used to be people would spend like 1, 2, 3 years filming for a part. Obviously, due to Instagram and just the proliferation of video, that it's just smaller.
Right.
But people would like spend years working on a video part. Company would release the video, sell it to skate shops, those shops, and that's like how you got to know a team and sort of connect with the riders on there and figure out like who your favorite skater is through watching these videos. So once YouTube came out, it sort of rocked that whole business model, because all of a sudden now things were getting uploaded online. You didn't really have to go to a skate shop to buy a VHS tape because you could just download it.
Yeah.
So Dwindle basically dwindled down their video team from, I think it was like 9 or 10 full-time people to like 2.
Shit.
And so, yeah, I got laid off, kind of had to reevaluate like what I was doing with my life. And all of a sudden working in skateboarding didn't seem, like I felt like I kind of like hit the ceiling with that. I'm like, okay, like I've already gotten to travel around. I've gotten to like just be in that world. Now what? So also around the same time, the financial collapse happened. So
damn.
It was like 2006 through 2009 were like a pretty weird time, especially in LA. So I was just sort of bouncing around, and around that time, when I was shooting that, so I shot some behind the scenes photos for this band Princeton. Those photos ended up going on a website called Love Brian, which was a website ran by this photographer, Brian Durbala, who I didn't know at the time. But as soon as I sort of discovered this website, it was basically a outlet for, I wouldn't even say photographers. It was like a group of friends who like were all, close homies, lived in different places. It was an outlet for them to just make sort of photo essays and share those online. And, you'd go through and
his site was.
His site was.
So it was like Tumblr.
Yeah, it was like a Tumblr before Tumblr.
Right.
Like this was all like pre any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's sort of that introduced me to a certain sort of brand of photography, and like then I sort of learned about this idea of like personal narrative, and it's basically like storytelling through photos. It's like the sort of essence of documentary, essence of photojournalism. So it was one of these things where like I found this guy's site and felt emotionally affected by the photos I was looking at. And, he did like a guest post with my photos. He's like, hey man, I'm Brian, blah, blah, blah. Like you're friends with Alex Klein. Yeah, like these photos look sick. We're going to do this thing. Like here's a little write-up, yada, yada, yada. Shortly after I followed up and kind of was like, I see you make a living shooting photos. Like, what's that about? Because prior to that, I didn't really think people, like, I thought it was just sort of all these, like, running gun shoots like my dad was doing where you're just staging some, like, doctor's office visit. Like, I didn't really see the bigger picture of, for one, like, photojournalism, but, all the different applications, fine art photography, commercial photography, editorial. Like, there's all these different, like, branches of it that, I eventually learned about. But so I write Brian this like pretty brief email, and he like sends me back like a long like 7-page thing, just like being like, hey man, like that's so cool you're interested in doing this here, and basically like outlined it for me, be like, these are the different types of photographers. Like,
damn,
I remember him. Yeah, it was like commercial photographer. I remember the quotes he was saying. He's like, photojournalism will feed your soul, not much else. Fine art photography will get you girls. Commercial photography, you'll make a shit ton of money, but probably not be stoked on what you're shooting. And just
damn.
Like, yeah, it was kind of eye opening. I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. And he suggested to get out of LA. He's like, look, you're like in a vacuum out there. You're from out there. You need to like, well, without saying so, he's like, you should probably move to New York where the publishing industry is, all the magazines are, agencies are here. It's just like, it's a new place to explore. So he turned me onto this program called, or not program, he turned me onto a school called the International Center of Photography, which does a like year-long documentary photojournalism program. And was like, look, put together a body of work, shoot what's around you, shoot your friends. Like you're a skateboarder, like you're around like interesting people, like make use of that. You have access. So I just, started shooting my friends.
I love that you have access. Like that sentence is so key. Dude,
totally. And it's like, once you realize it, you're like, oh, like you have a certain privilege and you don't want to necessarily like squander, said access. So you're like, okay, sick. I'm going to like shoot this. So I basically, like my group of friends who I'm still close with, like 99% of them, were all these kind of early mid-20s skateboarders trying to get by in the world. And I just kind of pointed the camera at that, put together an edit of photos after a while. That was my like sort of
resume thing.
Yeah, that was like my portfolio. I submitted along with like an artist statement, which I had never done in my life, and just was like, what do I even talk about?
Yeah.
Applied, ended up getting in, moved to New York.
That's so crazy that this comes from one dude's email.
Yeah, it's a trip. And it like...
What'd your family think?
My mom was like, she's like, why are you going to move to New York? You live in LA, like, what's the point? And I was like, I don't know. I've lived in LA for 25 years. Like, it's time to do something new. But, once I we like made a trip out there, we went to check out the school. She like met a couple of people who Brian had set me up with. This guy, Philip Montgomery, who you met in Berlin. He's like one of my best friends. Like Phil and I grabbed coffee. First time meeting him, he had gone to the school and just was like, here's the deal. I went there 2 years ago. Here's what I learned. Here's what I didn't learn. And I was like, okay, I think I should do it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a trip.
You're about to go meet that fucking dude in Berlin again in like a week or something?
Yeah,
That's
we're
so
going to
tight.
Berlin next week. I love that city.
That's crazy. That's so, I mean, that's the power of mentorship. I mean, low key,
Absolutely.
like that guy was
yeah,
a mentor.
and Brian's one of my best friends too. Like we live like 4 blocks from each other.
The guy from the magazine, from the
Yeah,
website?
yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a random one-time email thing.
No, man. He's
wow, that's sick.
That's my dude.
So what?
And we go on trips all the time. I've probably been to like 8 or 9 countries with them, just
Jesus.
hanging out. Went to Jamaica a couple months ago, just chilled.
Living.
Yeah.
So what was, just so to understand, his website,
Okay.
how did he get notoriety to have an audience? What did he do?
So Brian's always been very community oriented, and I think he just saw among his own friends that each of them are very creative and interesting people on their own. And so
he was documenting that.
So, well, no, he was just shooting his own life. That was just one channel. So he had probably like 6 or 7 people producing photos for it, and it was just everyone just shooting their own lives.
His friends all capturing. I got you.
The way I believe the story went, him and a group of friends, they all lived in San Francisco. They all went to college out there. After X amount of years, some people moved to New York, some people moved to California, some stayed in the Bay, someone elsewhere. And in a way to sort of keep everyone connected, he created this website. So
that's fucking tight.
People could like just share what's going on in their own lives and
it grew.
From different places. And yeah, it was cool. It was like, and I remember I would nerd out on that site and I'd be like, oh, and like, it's funny because like I ended up becoming friends with like a bunch of people who I knew their photos way before I knew them. Like
weird.
My friend Danilo Paro, who's like a super talented filmmaker. He was like, he would do posts on there. My friend Alan Ying, I think he had a few guest posts. He's like rad skate photographer. And, this is like now a big part of my community out in New York. It's like these people who I've just kind of was nerding out on their stuff.
Does he still have the website?
He does have the website. I don't think it's very active anymore.
Right.
Because Instagram sort of, now you don't like have to go to a specific website to sort of tune in to like what people are going on. You just like open your phone.
I love watching, I follow the Shade Room and it's fucking hilarious because they'll post like a story and like they'll start writing like what happened. Yeah. And just in the middle of the sentence they're like, the rest of the story is here, link in bio. And I'm like, what the it's maybe one more paragraph that you have to go to the website to read it. I'm like,
they want those clicks.
They do want those fucking clicks.
Yeah.
That's tight as fuck. That's crazy. That's super crazy.
Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, all during this time, I did create a Tumblr and was sort of like doing my own sort of short form version of it. And looking back, it feels underdeveloped, but it was like all part of the process.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So you make the move, you go out there, you do it, you commit, you do the school for a year. It's a year program.
For a year, 2011 through 2012.
And like, what are you like? As far as investing into that, because I don't know, was a year program pretty expensive?
Yeah.
I was trying to go to film school. And
30 grand, I think.
30 grand?
And then, living expenses in New York. I lived as cheaply as I could. I think I was living off like $1,500 a month, like including rent and everything. Yeah. So it was like, that's kind of like when I discovered cooking, which like I'm now like super nerd out on cooking. But it was like more of this like having to do it. Yeah. Because you're like, well, I can't afford to eat out. So I'm making rice and beans this whole week.
Hell yeah. So were you, what would you say, what are 3 takeaways that you got from going to school? And then what would you say is like, I don't know, if you had to do it again, what would you have hoped to have gained out of school?
The takeaways from school, one thing that really, it sort of opened my eyes to how much work has been done already. Like there's been so much amazing photography produced since the dawn of photography. Mm-hmm. So you're just sort of absorbing work. It's like listening to a lot of music where you're just like, you're seeing what's been done, you're seeing how they've done it, and then you can sort of inform your own choices on like your approach to a subject. Right. So that was one thing, really like kind of pulled me out of this like vacuum I was living in where I'm like, I don't know. You just like learn the history of everything. And that's really important to have context because if you don't, things can be problematic. Like you need to just have a good education and also like the ethics of photojournalism. Like there are rules to it. You know, you can't stage stuff like unless like it's clearly a portrait. Like you can't like if I was like shooting a moment, you know, I can't like pull a coffee cup away. You know, like you can't abstract reality more than you already are by being there.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So like, you know, when going to like newspaper world, I felt like, okay, like I understand the rights and wrongs of this.
Right.
If I were to do it again, I would have shot more portraits. I would have like kind of tried to be less stubborn, and because all I wanted to do was like look for moments, and that's hard. You have to spend so much extra time just like hanging around. And I wish I would have just in these situations, like I ended up, so when you're at brain fart.
1 year at what?
So part of the program is you have to do a project, like a documentary project as you're going. And it took me a while to figure out what to do. I ended up doing mine on this neighborhood called Brownsville, which is out in Brooklyn. It's like the highest concentration of housing projects in the United States. It's just like, it's the hood. It's the hood of Brooklyn. It's gentrification probably won't ever go out as far as there, but who knows? It might. So I wanted to do a sort of like portrait of the neighborhood by just hanging out there. And what I did get out of that, you know, I spent time with like all these like kids and older people, and just like people who live there off the street, and just like would be like, hey, can I like hang out with you? And I'd spent like days out there just chilling. And it was sketchy because like that's like the highest murder rate in New York City is like in that like 1 mile square foot sort of area. But
what kind of gear would you bring with you? And did the school provide you with cameras?
Yeah, they had like rentals there, so I was like shooting on a 5D Mark II, which was like
legendary,
the new shit at the time, and you know, like had all like the prime L lenses. So I was like sick. I'm stoked. Was mostly shooting natural light then. I didn't really get into shooting with flash till a couple years after school. But my approach, honestly, like when I first started showing up there, was like I just went with my skateboard and was just like rolling around, and that's always sort of been like the hood pass. And just like we're in any city, if you like people are down with skateboarding for the most part, you're like, oh, sick. You're like out here, you're having fun, you're exploring. Like, yeah, we're down with that. So that sort of helped with the access. But going back to like what I wish I had done, I wish I had sort of thought a little more conceptually into it and shot portraits, which, you know, everything I shot on that was just sort of like these moments as they were happening, and kind of yielded a different result. But yeah, I'd probably do it differently now.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I love too watching, like I learned a lot from just watching you try to get portraits during the show. Like he was a master at setting up scenes to specifically capture portraits of like J or B. Or even the dancing and the band members and everything like that. But like I remember one specific shot you would try to get of Jay. I think it was underneath the stage or something, but you like went and got the right light grips so that you could like hang your lights from the bars of the stage and like position it, and then I would stand in for you before the show so you could try to find like a mark to get Jay to go to.
Yeah, set up a camera trap.
And you're trying to do it like Jay's got to be from here to here in 20 seconds, and you're trying to get him just to give you a look real quick, snap off a shot, and then hope that you got it. And he went for this one photo like how many shows in a row?
Dude,
like
probably like 5 shows to get this one moment, and eventually it happened. I was like, cool, I can move on now.
Yeah.
I can like,
but 5 shows is one show every like 2 or 3 days. So he's thinking about this for like almost 3 weeks straight, trying to get the one shot. And it was like, and they look cool to me, but in his mind, there's like something he needed to perfect every time.
Everything's got to kind of come together in this one frame.
But it was cool to watch it. Like I learned a lot about the way you would like structure shit and try to fire off your shots and stuff like that. But so then you go, okay, cool. So boom, you finish school. What do they teach you anything about finding jobs? Or was it just more about the art?
I wish they had kind of gone more into how to shoot an assignment. Like we had a couple workshops on that. Like basically, like, you know, any assignment to cover, like for one example, they did have us go shoot a small business. So like you go find a small business to sort of profile, and there's essentially like a checklist that you eventually, it just kind of becomes second nature. But, you know, you need to see the place, like a scene setter. You need to, who are the characters in this place? Portraits of the people. Like what are some details that make the place interesting? And you're just like looking for like interesting, quirky objects or signage on the wall. And I don't know, like we would do sort of exercises like that, but I mean, I didn't really learn how to shoot an assignment until I was like on the job.
Right.
You know, like making pictures and then getting feedback from that, or be like, why didn't you shoot? Like my first, so I have a funny story. Actually, I don't know if I can tell it.
Run it, bro. Fuck it.
All right, fuck it.
Let it live forever.
So my first newspaper assignment ever was for the Wall Street Journal. They used to have this section called Greater New York, which was sort of like stories from the 5 boroughs of New York, whether, you know, it's like a real estate story, a culture story, but it was all like New York City based.
Right.
I get a call. They're like, okay, you're going to be shooting this woman who's a real estate agent. She lives in this gorgeous apartment in Central Park West. Like, didn't really give me specific directions on like whether it was a portrait, but they were like, we need photos of this woman in her place. I'm like, cool. So they schedule it for the day after Thanksgiving. The prior night on Thanksgiving itself, this was maybe my second or third Thanksgiving in New York. Didn't really have like a big social group there, so I ended up going to a restaurant with some family friends who were from out of town. A couple of those, so they had kids that I grew up with, Gabe and Mia. We ended up like hanging out after we all had dinner. Long story short, I got food poisoning that night. Probably from eating some cookie dough from a bodega, which was not smart. I have a crazy sweet tooth, so at the end of the night, I was like, I'm gonna get some cookie dough. Yeah, you know, I'm like 25 at the time. Like, it's okay, my body can handle it. Get violently ill overnight.
Is that a thing? People get sick from cookie dough?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I hate cookie dough.
It's either because, well, I've heard 2 reasons. It's either because the egg in it, or it's because of the unpasteurized flour. Because flour itself can contain microbes that can
fuck you up,
do damage.
So you got sick.
I got sick. Next morning, I'm just like, I'm wrecked. I'm like not in a good situation. The shoot was near Central Park. So, you know, here's Manhattan. I'm like, okay, here's my plan. I'm going to go up to ICP, which is on 43rd and 6th. I'm like, chill out there. They have a bathroom that's like my midtown, like
shitty spot.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing, like living in New York after a while, like you get your bathroom spots down.
That's hilarious to think about.
Yeah. You got to know, like, there's like, I have my spots in Soho, I have my spots in like Williamsburg. You get a mental map of like where to take a dump if you have to.
Smart. Smooth.
So
that should be an app, bro.
I've already. I want to do it. Me and my brother have come up with some. Shit stop. I was gonna call it plop.
Plop is funny as fuck
like
too.
Yelp.
And then every time like a new one pops up, it's just like.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Airbnb for bathrooms.
So good.
Yeah.
All right, go on. No one take that idea, or I'll fucking kill you.
Fucking kill you guys.
Yeah. All right, continue.
So, you know, I get to ICP, my stomach. And
what is ICP?
International Center of Photography.
Oh, just right.
Whenever I say ICP from now on, not talking about the posse, talking about the school. What I didn't really anticipate was that the school would be closed because it's the day after Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. So I arrived there about an hour before the shoot, and I'm just like, oh shit, like it's happening. Like, you go find a bathroom, door's locked.
Oh no.
Wandering in Times Square, I end up like going to some like, it was like one of those like old school Irish pubs, walking past the hostess, you know, like definitely not being slick about it, but just going to the bathroom and throwing up, shitting. It was pretty terrible. So that happens, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. I think I'm good. So I show up to this woman's like giant, beautiful Central Park West apartment, and like maybe 10 minutes into shooting, I'm like, oh God, like this is happening. And it just threw my whole day off because I didn't, like at the end of the shoot, I didn't have a single portrait of her. I just was basically like, oh, just like do what you normally would do as you're working. So like I have like hundreds of shots of like just some woman at a laptop. And it was just, my head was not in the game because I was dying from my inside. So yeah, I ended up desecrating her poor bathroom. Sorry. If you ever see this,
I wish that it probably would have made your day so much better if we, I don't know if that wasn't so weird. Like, if it wasn't weird for you to feel uncomfortable asking someone if you could just take a massive shit in their bathroom because your stomach is fucked from the food you ate the night before, and if you could just get it out of the way now,
oh yeah,
the rest of the day would be
I
cake.
dude, if this was now, I would just be like, hey, I need to use your restroom. I don't feel great. I'm sorry. Here's some Palo Santo, like,
Right. Please.
whatever. Let's shoot some portraits.
Right.
And like,
So you missed the shot,
dude,
basically.
I totally missed it. And
So what happens? Does the newspaper like get angry with you?
Yeah, my editor was like, there's not a single shot of her looking at the camera. And I was like, oh no. And they ended up finding like an outtake where they basically cropped in from like a super wide photo to like, you know, just this woman smiling, and it was fine. They didn't really hire me after that, but
Damn.
it's okay. You know, it was
You
a
never
test
told
run.
them what the deal was?
No, I was so embarrassed.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But you know, that was my first, and I think I shot maybe for them like 2 more times. But I'm more on the New York Times.
Right.
Those are my people. You
That's
know,
right.
like you got to pick a side.
That's true.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how competitive that was until my friend got wounded in Afghanistan, and then
Oh, wow.
his story got super popular on the internet, and everyone wanted us to be on their show or whatever. So I did all of his, like, I handled all of that shit.
Yeah.
Just ran his website, did all that stuff for him, and to raise him money and shit. And we had to pick like the Today Show or Good Morning America. And I remember talking to both of them like, hey, yeah, cool, we're gonna be out in New York. And we went with the Today Show.
Okay.
And then I hit Good Morning America, like, hey, we'll be out there if you guys want us to come on. They're like, just never even responded anymore. We love this story. We want to have you guys. And as soon as they heard that we were with the competitor, they're like, no, fuck you. Like, we don't need that. Just,
Yeah, they don't want to.
it's over with.
Yeah.
And then what was even
That's
crazier
crazy.
is when we were going, so he recovered in DC. That's like where the wounded vet hospital is for IED explosions and shit. So we took a train. They booked us a train or whatever to New York. We took the train, but they sent someone to us to like meet us in DC, and then she just like rode with us, which we thought was kind of fucking weird because it was like
Was she a reporter? Or?
No, she was just chilling.
Okay.
She works with Today Show. So they take us up there, first class train ride. I don't know if there's anything besides that. And, but like we had food and drinks, whatever. It was cool.
That's what's
and
up.
then we get to New York and they just like give us a fucking tab. They flew out all the homies, like did all the shit. But this girl was with us the whole time.
Yeah.
And then she took, like, by the time we left the bar, we split. She met us in the morning, took us to the Today Show. And then she like parted ways. And I'm like, what the fuck is up with that? And then basically she said that her job was to make sure that we were completely happy, because they don't pay you to be on those things.
No, yeah.
But she wanted us to be happy, so like she's like, what do you guys want to eat tonight? We're like, Mexican sounds good. She booked us the fucking illest Mexican spot, gave us a credit card. We had like mad people, like who got let go there? The dude that fucking had the whole abuse thing, like the sexual abuse shit.
Charlie Rose?
No, the main guy that was like the Today Show main guy.
I forget.
Damn, dude's iconic as fuck, but he just the main Today Show host, like, Good Morning America, 9/11 just happened today, blah blah blah, breaks the story. Like, he's the guy that gets it first.
Who was that?
Dog, fuck, I cannot think of his name.
Look it up.
I don't want to do it right now. Anyway, he told us that we rolled with more people than Justin Bieber did when he was on the Today Show, because that's how they're like, who do you want to come out there? I was like, well, how many people can we fly out? And the Today Show's like, the guy, the producer's like, let me tell you this. Matt Lauer was the dude.
Matt
the
Lauer,
main guy.
okay.
So Matt Lauer.
Did he get? Oh, I didn't know
He got like
caught up.
some weird shit happened to him.
Bummer.
I guess don't quote me, but something, he got let go.
Yeah.
But he's like, let me tell you, if you guys don't come out because I didn't fly out some of Taylor's family, I'll lose my job. So whoever you guys need to come through. We're like, all right, we brought like 10, 12 people, mob through New York. They paid for all of our dinner. We just ran up. We were buying drinks just to see what they taste like.
Amazing.
Like,
was that your
sick.
first time to New York?
I'd been there before, but on like some mad broke shit, like touring, like no money.
Got it.
And so this was like lit. And then, and the hotel was nice and all that shit. We had per diems on the rooms. It was sick.
Dude, that's...
We get there and I find out that girl, her whole purpose was to make us happy so that I guess, do you remember the story about that homeless guy that his voice was so prominent?
Yep.
He became a radio host.
Yeah, I think he's in Detroit.
Something like that.
Yeah.
They flew him out, whatever. They had him on the Today Show. He went outside to smoke a cigarette, and someone from the Good Morning America came and like poached him and offered him some shit. And then he literally 10 minutes before he's supposed to go on air, went to Good Morning America and they got him on the show. And then the people at Today Show have like all his TVs of every other network, and they see him there and they realize that they just fucking lost him.
Poached.
So now they hire people that just travel to make you never go with anyone else. Like if I came in and try to swoop you, they make sure that they would one up me to keep me on their show.
Dude,
that's
a
fucking nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got on that story, but
I don't know. That's a cool story.
it's random, right?
Yeah.
Super crazy.
I want to see the footage of you on the Today Show.
I didn't get on. Taylor did,
okay.
but it's fun.
Not in the background.
Nah, I was just
Damn.
filming shit because I was like getting all the content.
Okay.
You know
Sick.
what I mean? It's crazy though.
Yeah.
It was
a
dope.
trip.
Yeah. Matt Lauer, damn. I love that guy. Some people don't, I guess. I recorded him like calling us.
Really? Oh.
He had to call me, and then I would patch in Taylor and like introduce him and shit. And he like had some small tie to Iowa and all this shit. He's like, I used to come there all the time. I had a girlfriend that lived there, all this stuff. And I was like, that's crazy. It was tight. Anyway.
Yeah.
So cool. So you start doing editorial shit,
Yes.
and then
Yeah,
how do you survive
slowly-
in New York though? Like straight out the gate, for real. You owe money.
You owe money. It took a while. I was basically living in debt for the first 2 years I was there.
Mm-hmm.
I put everything on a credit card. I was like borrowing money from my mom. It was just like, I was struggling up until I think it was March of 2013. I can actually pinpoint the timeline. And then I got hired to shoot 9 days at South by Southwest for Vice.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's sick.
So they had this
In
thing called
2013?
2013.
I think that's when I went there for the first time.
Well, Schoolboy Q was there. I remember shooting him. So they basically had this like giant thing called Viceland. It was before the TV show.
Yeah.
And it was like the most insane lineup. It was like Kendrick Lamar, Danny Brown, like
Didn't
Diplo.
Danny jump off of like a roof or something?
He may
yeah,
have
that shit
sometime
was
that year.
lit.
It was crazy. It was like right as a lot of those dudes were like really
Yeah.
hitting their like right after like Good Kid, Mad City came out for Kendrick. I think 30 had just dropped like for Danny Brown. So it was like very hot moment for these guys. And they were basically like needed photo content for, they have a music channel called Noisy.
Yeah.
So I was basically like shooting
All the shit for Noisy?
Yeah. So shooting
Damn.
9 days for Noisy. This was like this sort of thing that like got me a body of work that then I could show more people. And then basically since then I've been like more or less actively shooting.
Yeah, you're in the green now.
Yeah.
That's
And I had to borrow money to buy the flight to go out there because like they weren't going to cover my travel. I had to find a place to stay.
Damn.
And luckily I have friends there, like my friend Rachel and Darren, they moved out there a couple of years before. They're like, yeah, we got a spare room. While the rest of the Vice people were all, I think they rented an Airbnb with like 9 people in them for like a 1-bedroom apartment. And like everyone's just like crashing wherever they could. And I was like,
balling
okay,
on a
sick.
budget.
I have like,
Whole space.
yeah, it worked out. So yeah, that, and which is interesting. I like kind of got to use that sort of music concert skill set into then and sort of like combine it into like backstage parlay that into backstage portraits, live stuff. And it was more where I was trying to approach this as like one whole subject where I was like, okay, like this is my chance. Like what, if this was a small business, how would I shoot it? And
right.
Just getting all like the different moving parts of
That's
it.
crazy.
And that's also when I like really started messing around with like just shooting flash and shooting off camera flash and on a speed light and kind of messing with these techniques and sort of slowly like having the idea of light make sense in my head.
Yeah.
That was like one of the first times I really got to like just throw my kind of creativity at a subject, and
That's crazy.
it was fun. But yeah, I remember, and just being around like all this music that I was very into at the time.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, it was fun.
But that's the same thing. It goes back to like parlaying that gig into multiple gigs
Totally.
beyond that shit.
Yeah.
So then what would you do? Say you finish that, the content's on the air.
Yeah.
You have all your photos, your website or whatever you were doing
Sure.
at the time. But how were you starting to try to find work that way?
I mean, I was assisting a lot at the time. I used to assist this guy, Ben Ritter, who's like a fashion and beauty photographer. So that kind of kept me paying my bills for a while because he was doing all these shoots for like Estee Lauder and Bobby Brown. And, he'd bring me in. I'd be like, okay, this is a Nocta Bank. This is a softbox. This is a beauty dish. And like sort of coaching me of like what the names for these things are, what they do, like the way, like it's pretty fascinating. Like when you think of light as like a physical
Tool.
but like the sort of mechanics and science behind it, like you can like literally like shape light, and every modifier you use is going to like produce something different. So I was kind of like learning that at the time.
Yeah.
And then I started doing like corporate events, like shooting stuff for these like agencies were like, yeah, we need exciting photos of this like this summit, and you're like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's slowly was just kind of developing my craft, figuring out also like what sort of stuff I liked shooting, and you know, all that. I still hadn't figured that out,
right?
And I still don't know what I like shooting, but
yeah.
I do. I like shooting. I don't know. That's a whole other conversation, but
you were. I mean, that still feels like you're much in the like world of, I don't know, commercial.
Yeah, it was like advertorial, like, or, I don't know. I'd say more branded. Like I was shooting like a lot of parties for Vice at the time, and it wasn't until I started getting assignments from the Times in, I think it was 2014. I want to say. November of 2014, like once I started working for them, that became sort of more of what I was doing on the regular. And then, you know, in between then I'd get, you know, like I shot a couple things for like Wired Japan, Huck Magazine, like that's like a UK based, like smaller kind of publication. And you know, you're getting access to these stories and you're like, okay, like how can I, like my approach is I just don't want things to look boring. Like I want things to like kind of feel visually exciting,
right? Not
necessarily like forced, but you know, just interesting. And you kind of get to, every time you get an assignment, it's a new opportunity to try something new, or if you've figured out a technique, apply it to that. And yeah, I know it's.
So when you were at Time, how
the Times, yeah. Sorry,
is there a Time magazine?
There is a Time magazine, and there's New York Times, the paper. So there's New York Times magazine.
The Times. Well,
when you're in New York, it's the Times. When you're in LA and you say the Times, it means the LA Times.
God damn it.
Yeah, it's confusing.
So when you were working for them Fools?
Yeah, for them Fools.
What was it? You were being hired contractually as a freelancer?
Yeah.
So it was never a full-time job? You were just coming in to do specific jobs?
Yeah, I mean, I remember they actually reached out for my first assignment. This dude, Jeff Ferticella, who was on the sports desk at the time, was like, hey, I got your email from, I think it was our mutual friend, Ariel Zambelich. He's like, hey, like, I think I'd like to have your eyes on the marathon. Like, I think you'd shoot it interesting. And I was like, holy shit. And I spent like the 3 days before that, like mapping out where it was going to be. I was like on Google Maps and like, okay, that could be a cool vantage point. That could be a cool vantage point. And I ended up getting on like some crazy like rooftop and got some like
ill shots.
Yeah, like I kind of talked my way up onto this rooftop where they were shooting all the TV angles from, and I think they thought I was part of the TV crew. So like, you know, I had these shots that no one else had.
Yeah.
So I like, you know, where you see like the Verrazano Bridge and everyone like running down 4th Avenue, which is like where the marathon starts. I was like, cool, wow. And then I ended up like roaming around with this dude who now works at the Times, Andrew Hinderacker, and he was shooting for the Wall Street Journal, and we just sort of buddied up. He's like, oh, we like go file for my friend's house in Bed-Stuy. So, you know, we make it up to Brooklyn, and then we're on this corner, I think it was like Bedford and Lafayette, where on one side, your runners were coming, turning a corner, but like from this corner room, these two windows, runners were coming through here and there, and I was just like, whoa, this is like kind of interesting perspective. So I don't know, I just sort of spent the day just like hunting for these like kind of weird shots that upon first glance wouldn't feel obvious, but like once you take it, you're like, oh, that's
right,
cool. And they ended up running those like
the cool
pretty
ones?
Big, and I was like, dude,
that was pretty sick.
I was so excited.
Did you go to any of the spots that you mapped out, or did you bail on those?
Yeah, no, yeah, totally. Like,
so it helps a lot to scout. People need to understand scouting.
Yeah, pre-production scouting, pre-visualizing, like the idea of like kind of seeing, like just planning a scene out in your head.
Right.
Like reading novels actually helps a lot with that.
Super
because like
helpful.
Kind of forces you to like do that in your brain.
I feel like you can become very comfortable with like oh yeah, I do this every day, and I don't need to come. And then I don't know how many times, even on tour, when I would be like, fuck, this looks insane if I could get up to that part of the stadium, and then I'm spending like 5 or 6 songs trying to figure it out. Or when we went in where were we at? I
remember
the Super Bowl place. Mercedes.
Yes.
We were
in New Orleans?
New Orleans.
Yeah.
And Atlanta.
Mercedes, Atlanta.
Was it in Atlanta? Where the fuck was the Super Bowl at this year? It was in Atlanta. I went there. I was there.
Mercedes, right?
Mercedes Stadium, or whatever you want to call that shit.
Where that was?
Yeah.
'Cause that's where the shit happened at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Remember that?
No, yeah, you're right. It was a different show.
Yeah.
It's the one with the Mercedes logo, and it hangs from the top of the ceiling, and it was the same place.
You're right. I think that's Atlanta.
One of our guys told us, like, yo, you can, if you go up this way through this elevator, you can get to this door that's unlocked, and then you can take these really sketchy stairs all the way up. And if you go and look at this stadium, it's this terrifying, like, circle at the top where this Mercedes logo hangs, and you can apparently take these ladders that I think they're not even like legally updated or something. Like, I guess
it's a code or whatever,
some shit, and so they're not technically safe to go on there. But me and Andrew were like, all right, let's do this shit. And I put the GoPro on my head, and I was like, let's go. And we like spent so much fucking time, and I remember getting so pissed because we got lost, and then there was like no way to get down, and the elevators were
stuck in the
fucked.
stairwell too.
Yeah,
that happened to me a couple of shows
it
where
was
I was like
so shitty.
Banging on there like, let me out.
Yeah.
I was freaking out.
Yeah, it's terrifying because then you're trying, you're taking stairs that take you to suites on accident, and then you're like, fuck. But that would fuck me by not just, I mean, like, I might have been chilling that day too, and I just was like, I don't want to go walk through this. I won't look at the stadium until the show started. I'm like, oh damn, this is sick in here. Just pure off of like, either I'm exhausted or I'm still working on something else, or
totally,
you let that shit go.
Yeah, and it's like in the afternoons, those were the sort of like downtime, because like you knew the next 5-6 hours were just going to be like nonstop. Like, you're just shooting the whole show and then running to the buses, getting all the gear out, like that.
So much work.
Oh my God. And then spending the whole night editing.
Right.
Just like, I just want to chill. I want to go to catering. I'll have my juice.
I want my juice for sure.
Yeah.
Tight. So anyway, scouting though, that was a mistake I made on tour, and I made several times before, but scouting can help a lot. So I feel like that's a good pointer right there. But so as you start working for The Time in New York, what became after that first one? What were like some of the
some of the assignments I got?
Iconic shoots that you did.
I got to shoot the Westminster Dog Show.
What's that?
It's like have you ever seen Best of Show?
Maybe.
It's a great movie. They sort of like parody the sorts of folks who enter these dog competitions, but it's like a very much like pure breeds. People who like this is their obsession is kind of having dog, like they're like show dogs, right? So part of that is like the agility competition where they're like running up and down, running through like the tubes and all that. But then there's like the pure breed competitions where it's like the goal is to have the most beautiful specimen of this breed. And so, like they had me cover that, where I'm just like walking around sort of shooting these like weird moments of like people like with like a hair dryer on like dog's butt, and like, I don't know, it's just like these strange moments. So
that's so funny. That
was one thing. And they had me cover that 2 years in a row, and I'm like very much a dog person. So I was like, sick, right? This is amazing. I covered the Belmont Stakes, which is this, it's part of the Triple Crown series of horse racing. So that's like out in deep Queens, and that you're not only just shooting like the horses themselves, but like the scene of people who
it's like elegant as fuck, right? Isn't that where they dress up?
That's the one in Kentucky. That's a Kentucky Derby, but I think it happens before the Kentucky Derby. Right. I'm not sure like exactly the full like how it goes down. Sorry.
There you go. Man. It's all good, man. It's just a brand new table. Don't worry about it.
So stuff like that is a lot of these like sports related stories. And I covered the NFL draft in 2014 or 2015, which was cool.
That's
and it's funny because like I don't watch sports. I grew up skateboarding. I was very like anti-established sports. I'm like, this is jock shit. Like, so I was sort of like texting my brother, who's like a big sports fan. I'm like,
who is this?
Like, like who should I be paying attention to? He's like, oh, you're at the NFL draft. Yeah, cover. I think it was like when Odell Beckham Jr. got signed to the Giants. And it's just like, I think Johnny Manziel got like
Manziel?
I don't know.
I think he's lit. I think my brother always sends videos of this dude.
I think he got drafted on the Browns, and like the photo they ended up running was this like kind of big overhead of just this whole crowd just like surrounding him right after he got drafted. So
that's crazy.
You're just like kind of trying to find these moments that kind of sum up like what happened at this thing, this specific event. So, you kind of like, you're just looking, like that's what's exciting about this. Like you just show up and you're like, just looking for things, be like, and framing things in your head and be like, what does that mean? Like, what does that photo mean if this person's here? And
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a trip.
That's crazy.
So it started going like, from these sort of like reportage assignments. I'm trying to think back to some like notable ones, and then I slowly started, no worries. Let me think. After the dog show stuff, yeah, I forget.
Does it get pushed celebrity base at a
So-
certain point?
It did after I shot the Formation tour. And fast forward to 2016, and in between that time, it was just more and more of these assignments. Started slowly getting portrait shoots where it's, I had mentioned one where I shot this guy in like a car wash. It was like a labor dispute story. So after that, it's just
So how does that work? If you take a picture and there's an editor that's basically like your boss, basically?
Yeah.
So the editor's telling you, go get this shit. This is what we're looking for.
Yeah, be like, Ben Haggerty is, he's a creator with Black with No Cream. We're doing a profile on him. Go, we'd like a few different setups, and for me, I always try to get like 3 or 4 different setups, meaning like shooting you in a different place. I might shoot you something more formal and then get something more environmental that sort of shows what space you're working in. Details, like I might shoot, like if I was in here, maybe I'd shoot like
the podcast shit sitting on the ground or
like
something.
a photo of this, just sort of things that can kind of as a whole tell a story.
So then is the way you advance in that industry is like you kill that, it gets published. Would another editor happen to see that and then they book you for their thing?
That's exactly what happened.
Okay, gotcha. So this is happening to you into 2016.
Yeah, so I remember I had a meeting with the style section with my friend Eve Lyons, who's, she's the editor there. And I remember I went in for a meeting and then she had me, she's like, okay, we're doing this profile on this woman named Lizzie Grubman, who she was most notable for. It's like kind of a crazy story. It was the biggest story in New York before 9/11, but she was this like young socialite who at a party in Hamptons got in her car and like ran over like 10 people.
Oh shit.
Yeah, like however many people, don't fact check me. But and I think she used to be like Jay-Z's like publicist. She's this like big like publicist, like super powerhouse, like in the late 90s. Then she got in all this trouble, went to prison for a while. Then 9/11 happened. That sort of like obviously
cleared her name.
yeah, people kind of forgot about her. But then this is sort of like her reemergence as owning an agency. Like 10 years later.
Wow.
So I like this was one of the things where I like spent like 4 or 5 hours on this shoot, and like that's one piece of advice I could be is stay as long as you can, because you never know like what sort of like moments are going to present themselves like a few hours in. Like, yeah, you could probably get an assignment done in 20 minutes, but it's like, if you have the time, just like hang out, just see what's going to happen.
Comfortable with you.
Yeah.
Allow you to be in their
totally.
Bit.
And then especially like with the portrait assignment, it's like a collaboration. So, I was with Elizabeth. I gotta slow down.
No, you're good. I'm like, this shit's so crazy. There's so many elements to what you did,
man.
But you were with her. What were you saying? You were with Lizzie?
Like the idea was, I showed up at her office. She's like, oh yeah, like I'm here with my family. I'm like, cool. Like we'll shoot some family portraits and then get some stuff of you. It was a nice day in spring. We're like, yeah, we'll go walk around, find some nice light. Spent the whole day with her. We like collaborated. She had like an Uber driver, and we were like driving down the street. So like, oh, like look at this like shaft of light. Let's like have you walking through it. And I felt really happy about the photos I delivered that day. So then, I filed those. And then, a few days later, and one of the editors from the arts, Jolie, hit me up and was like, hey, I saw I actually reached out to her for a meeting. She was like, yeah, I'd like really interested in shooting for the arts section. She's like, oh, I actually just saw the shoot you filed. I have something coming up if you want it. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, you slowly just start getting in the mix, and then, in a perfect world, not in a perfect world, but, like the sort of goal is like they want someone who's reliable and can, deliver
top shit.
Yeah. Like who are going to put in the work. And so, that was just basically like pay the bills for a while.
That's sick.
And then around March of 2016, I was actually out here in LA. I flew out for Mother's Day. I think that's in March. No, May. Sorry. May, because the Lizzie shoot was like late April. Flew out for May. Brother and I like surprised my mom. We're like, Happy Mother's Day. And then...
And Beyonce was there.
Yeah, exactly. She shows up.
Hey.
No, I got a call from my long-term homie and just video extraordinaire, Mike Morosco. Who
Mike's a beast.
He's a beast. Him and his wife, Cassandra, are just like... They're the best. But yeah, I got a call from Mike, who I knew he had been working with her. Like, I knew he just was like, yeah, I'm like doing like this behind the scenes stuff with Beyonce. It's crazy. I'm like, dude, good for you. He calls me. He's like, crazy thing. The 2 photographers on tour can't do the tour. I forgot what the reasons were, but it was Rob and Mason. I don't think either of them could commit to like, the 5 or 6 months. He's like, yeah, like happened to be in a meeting when they were discussing like who they should hire, and I threw your name in and showed them your website, and they were like, whoa, like, yeah, we'd love to try them out. Can you fly to LA like right now? I was like, yeah, I'm here. I have my gear. Like,
that's convenient as fuck.
Yeah, I was like, what's up? And he's like, okay, so the next show is at Dodger Stadium. Just show up.
Oh, so they were already touring? The tour
this
started?
was like 4 or 5 dates in.
Okay.
I think they had done like a few dates in the South, and I'm like, what the hell? Okay. So, like I show up, they sign all this paperwork.
NDAs and all that garbage.
Yeah.
Learn about what you're supposed to do. Probably.
Yeah. And, Rob and Mason kind of like walked me around, showed me backstage. They're like, okay, here are the dancers, introduce yourself. Like that's Beyonce's dressing room. Like, just
don't go in there.
Basically like introduce me like Caleb, just like kind of, we're like, this is what you do. Like, just like have fun, be nice.
And this is like a trial. This isn't like you already booked the tour.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
No.
Okay.
Hell no. I was like, okay, I'll just do my thing. And it was funny, like I forgot who told me. It was like, don't shoot flash. Like she hates it. And I was like, but like that's what I do. Like
that's your thing.
Yeah. So I sort of ignored that and just shot it the way I thought it would look cool. And I remember, going back to the tour buses. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. You guys you guys travel on these? This is insane.
Yeah, I know, right?
Edited the photos, sent them in. I remember it took me because I had to get home to Santa Monica, or to my dad's in Santa Monica from the west side, or from Dodger Stadium, and I was like, it took me like 3 hours to get home.
God
I was
damn.
like up all night editing photos. But I remember waking up the next day and going on Beyonce.com, and it was like,
your shit's there.
Yeah, like a bunch of my photos ended up on there. I was like, that's cool. Like, what? That's a trip. Okay. So yeah, I sort of like, I remember I was supposed to fly home the next day, and I was like, no, I should probably just like move my flight a couple days, and just to like in case like they need me to fly out anywhere.
Right.
And it took like 2 or 3 days to like hear anything, because I was like, I don't know like if they liked it or if they want to. I just didn't know what was going to happen. Eventually, I got a call from like one of the tour managers, like, hey, like we liked what you did at Dodger Stadium. What's your availability like through the end of like fall? I was like, I think I could.
Fuck work, I'm out.
Yeah,
let's
basically.
go.
And negotiated everything, and within a week I was on the tour. Like, I think the first stop was Toronto after that. So flew back to New York, packed a bag, flew out to Toronto, and then next like 5 months I was.
How insane is that shit?
It was nuts.
God damn.
Because I'd only been to Europe like once before, and then we ended up doing like 13 countries out there. I think it was like a total of, whatever this tour was,
same
45, 50 shows.
Yeah.
And it was a trip.
So then what was between that tour and then the next tour? What were you doing between that?
Basically came back to New York after that. And what's exciting about that, doing a project that long, is you can edit together, body work. So like that's what we want to do as documentary photographers and editorial photographers. Like, we want to produce work that represents the way we sort of see the world. So, you spend 6 months shooting something, you have the opportunity to sort of like edit and make like a very tight sort of like, this is what it looked like.
Yeah.
So I basically just I tried to book as many meetings as I could, started shooting for more people. I started getting more celebrity assignments. I think my first one was shooting no, it wasn't Charlie's.
Thought you were gonna say Suge Knight.
Suge Knight, that'd be sick. No, it was Tom Hardy. Yeah,
that's
Joey
crazy.
Rubin hit me up on Christmas Eve 2016. So this was like a couple months after getting back, and she was like, "Hey, how soon can you get to Midtown? Like, soon can you get to like Central Park, essentially. And I live out in Bushwick, and I was like, I guess I could take a car there. She's like, okay, like, we're going to have Tom Hardy for like 15 minutes. Like, we need a full body portrait of him. And like, you know, once you get the full body, like, just do your thing, like, have fun, get something exciting. And so went out there, basically like set up some lights, waited around for like 2 hours. He was like 2 hours late, but got the 15 minutes in. And, you know, after that, they're like, cool, like, you can handle your shit around a celebrity. Like, we're going to throw you some more of those. So, yeah, it's since then I got to, like, meet a bunch of, like, and some of them are, you know, celebrities to me, but not necessarily, like, celebrities on, like, you know, a Tom Hardy level. I got to shoot this musician, Josh Tillman, of this band Father John Misty, who I'm like a huge fan of.
That's sick.
So just like got to go spend a couple hours in his hotel room, like talking about like country music and acid and stuff.
That's dope.
It's like, dude, this is wild. This is crazy.
That is fucking tight.
Yeah.
Damn. So that tour like opened up mad doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Clearly.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's and crazy. It continues to. Obviously, like doing the tour again 2 years later, I felt like I got to apply everything I've learned since to that. Like, as far as, you know, like, I think I spent more of an effort lighting it this time. You know, like you were saying, like setting up lights backstage and sort of these camera traps and just really trying to maximize the access, because you're like, I just didn't want to make the same photos that I did in the previous tour. Right. Because I was mostly just shooting like with a speed light, and, you know, I was like, okay, like I can do something different. I can use these tools to sort of
get something that's different than just show footage or whatever.
Yeah,
you know what
it's
I mean?
like shooting available light, so like can only get you so far, and it's been it's just the opportunity to experiment's always really exciting, because it's you're just like sort of in this like arena of just crazy shit, and you're just like, okay, I can make this as weird or normal as I want. Yeah, like let's get weird with it. Was the second tour for Coachella? Did they book you while you were in New York and you flew in for that? Like, you knew that you were gonna do Coachella? Lauren hit me up, because Lauren, I think, was pretty new at Parkwood at the time.
Yeah,
the good homie, Lauren Baker.
Shout out to Lauren. Love you, sis. She hates me.
Does she?
No, she loves me, but she really does hate me.
Yeah, she like reached out and was like, "Hey, like, I'm Lauren. I work for Parkwood. We're working on rehearsals for Coachella. Are you available?" And I was like, "Cool."
Oh,
like,
cool.
Because she, you know, B was supposed to do Beyond or Coachella the year before, but then ended up having the twins, so got pushed here. So yeah, in 2018, got that email. I'm like, cool, yeah, I'm down. So that's when we met. You know, we got to shoot all these rehearsals in Sony Studios in Culver City. So I didn't even know about the tour, that the tour was happening. Right. And I was just like, okay, like they're just gonna have me on for this. And I think it was like towards the end of rehearsals, then they were like, I think Lauren was like, yeah, I think we want to have you come on tour if you're interested and available. And I was like, yeah, I think I want to do this again.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What was the most challenging part of tour?
I mean, from a photography standpoint, was keeping it fresh and not taking the same photos over and over. And like, you know, once you sort of got the shot, I think I sort of had like a mental checklist of kind of what I wanted to see in an overall view of it. Right. So, you know, some shows I would only shoot with like an 85 millimeter lens just to like sort of focus my vision, where I'm like, I'm not going to get distracted by like having a zoom lens where I can just like zoom in and out. Like, right. I would sort of do these like funny little exercises each show to just be like, okay, this is like how I'm going to ensure that I'm going to get something different.
Which I like, because you used to do that when you first got your camera.
Exactly. Yeah. Shot the same lens for 3 years. Right. And I was like, okay, like this is the only, like this, I have to make this work.
Yeah. And it challenges you to
makes you move around.
Yeah. It makes you move. Well, what is a full send?
A full send is you see an opportunity happening on stage, and the only way to get the shot you have in mind is sending it. So usually involved us running behind B&J on stage to get some crazy epic moment, the full send, bumming out any of the video guys who were shooting, you know, like the real, like the IMAGs is what they're called. Yeah. The those stuff guys that everyone in the stadium sees, you would just see. Oh, they hated us. Yeah.
We were basically the top two full senders. Yeah. Dave would too every once in a while, but it was primarily you and me.
Yeah, we got trend starting.
I'd send it a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I remember, I'd see you backstage. You're like, check this out. I'm about to send this shit. You're like, all right, I'm right behind you.
You'd think about the shit though, like I'd be like, oh cool, I know I need to go out there during this one specific moment, and it's just gonna fucking be very obvious that I'm on stage.
Yeah.
But who cares, because that moment's gonna live forever.
Exactly.
That shit was so
no one's
fun.
gonna remember like the 3 seconds you were on stage on the iMac.
Yeah.
But you know, if you produce like a rad GIF or a sick photo out of it,
Yeah.
that's what she's gonna remember.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the fans are gonna remember. So it was worth it.
Yeah, it was worth it. And I remember the first full send. You were actually the creator of the full send,
During
Coachella.
Coachella.
Because we had like a choreographed part where, because I was running the Steadicam during the show, that was going to the IMAX. So this is actually really funny for me to talk about, because I was in both worlds. I was on the side of our camera crew for Coachella, who is all of the people that are shooting the show and what you see on the screens.
Yeah.
And the entire time during rehearsals, everything, Lauren's probably like, "Are you dead?" I'm like, she keeps calling me. During interview, during the Coachella shit, I would hear our like show director and all the camera ops.
What the fuck is he doing?
God damn it! There's that fucking photographer again. Get him off the stage. He's ruining our shots. And I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
And then even in Coachella, like you just hear this banter of all these dudes just talking shit because the BTS crew's ruining it. And then I flip to being BTS again or whatever.
Yeah, you lost the.
I lost my head comm, so
Yeah.
I just know. And I would always go to Mark at the show on tour because he's the show director, and I'd be like, "Yeah, so did you see me a lot?" He's like, "We always see you, Ben.
Yeah.
We always see you." I was like,
yeah, it like becomes like a running gag.
Yeah, it
they're
was.
like, oh, we're gonna see these guys on
because
stage.
she wanted it, so she knew, like, she was telling them like, we're pushing them to go out there even more
Yeah.
and just be in the show, because you want to be a fly on the wall as much as possible, but there's sometimes you just have to fucking send it.
I will say there was an exponentially more full sends this tour than Formation. We weren't sending it that hard
Yeah, I think
until
it was
like
new.
the very last show when we like get on stage with her and we're like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, we're not supposed to be here. And then,
I would send it from being on tour with like Schoolboy Q and Kendrick and working with
Sure.
people like that. I would just always there was no rules like that.
For
like,
sure.
I one time got told to wear black because I was like, and then I'm like learning what that means and
Yeah,
why. I was like,
shooting
okay,
blacks.
yeah. And I was like, fuck. But going to Coachella, there was one specific move that I had where I had to run across the stage of the pyramid and shoot B, and she was gonna look to me, and I would like pan with her, or maybe no, she was playing
No,
guitar.
it's
Guitar
during
part?
the guitar solo for Hurt Me.
Yeah, her and the guitar player would like have a moment and like fall on the ground, whatever.
Yeah,
and
she did like the whole
she did
lean
the
back
whole
thing.
like ill shit. So I had to go right behind them and have this cool spotlight, and it just looked super cinematic. And then when I went, I could feel Andrew behind me, and he just sent it with me, and I'm like, oh, this guy's right here, but he doesn't know that my camera's literally going to turn back and see him.
God.
And I'm like, I have to avoid now him, who's right behind me. He's just like getting all these shots, and I'm just like, fuck. I'm like, yo, man, I really fuck with that, but these dudes are going to be so pissed at you.
Dude,
You're like, I already got the shot, don't worry about it. Like, it's all good. But he did it in Coachella, and the shit was so iconic. And I have a 360 camera, so there's like a clip of I have it somewhere.
You did have the
So you could see you in the
Oh my
background. It's
God.
so fucking funny.
Just blowing it.
Full sense. That's what those mean. So
Yeah.
now you know the
Always
definition.
send it.
So now going into the future of shit, like what's in store for you? I know you've been working with a bunch of different brands and
Yeah, I'm basically kind of going to continue doing editorial stuff. Like, I love shooting portraits, so I'm always trying to do those assignments. I have a couple like doc story photo stories that I'm going to work on. Can't really go too into detail yet, but yeah, like I have a couple things out in Detroit that I want to shoot in May. I think I'm going to be out in Virginia doing some stuff hopefully for this something in the water.
the Pharrell Festival.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be shooting photos for that. I've been doing more commercial work. I've been really enjoying working with a team.
Yeah.
Because so much of photojournalism documentaries, like you're just by yourself.
Right.
And, once I started doing more portraits, like find myself hiring assistants, just like having more hands on deck. And then, like full on productions, you have like two assistants, Digitech, stylist, wardrobe, groomer. So
Right.
I'm sort of trying to move more into those, like where I'm just a small piece in sort of this like larger whatever you'd want to call it,
Right.
just larger production where like everyone sort of has their part.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been sort of excited to do more of
That's
those
dope.
stuff.
What's like one key thing that everyone should know when shooting portraits? What's the biggest piece of advice you could give to any photographer?
That's a good question. First, you develop a rapport with whoever you're shooting. Like, don't immediately pull the camera out and start taking pictures. You know, if you have the time, see if you can like hang out for like 10, 15 minutes and just even bullshit about like restaurants to eat and just sort of like, you know, make the subject comfortable, because if they're not comfortable, it's going to show in the photos. It doesn't make the viewer exactly like the most intrigued if it's like you can like body language and facial language is so important.
Right.
And just, you know, have fun with it. Experiment. Don't be afraid to ask them to do weird shit if you think it's going to make a cooler photo.
Right.
Just, yeah, I don't know, like make it fun. Don't be too serious about it. But yeah, I think definitely like, biggest piece of advice is just like don't immediately pull out the camera.
Yeah, it makes sense. Tight.
Yeah.
Well, shit. That's a good interview.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was tight.
Did I do all right?
You killed it.
This is my first interview ever.
I know, man. You killed it.
Terrified.
If people are, you know, you want them to find your shit, where?
Instagram, yeah, Andrew Whitey.
I'll put the links in the show notes.
Yeah.
Do you have a website? Do you do
I
that?
do have a website.
Are you constantly updating it?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm
Pretty
terrible
current.
at that shit.
Really?
I actually just deleted it.
Oh shit! Don't do that.
Well, I had to because I got charged for the hosting, and I'm like, I haven't even updated that site. I'm like, just delete the hosting. They're like, do you want to get rid of all the stuff that you built for the website? I'm like, yeah.
Damn.
I'll just start a new one.
Start a new one, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna start a new one.
Yeah.
So is it just andrewwhitey.com or what?
No, it's andrewwhite.nyc.
andrewwhite.nyc.
Link in bio.
Link in bio.
It's in the Instagram.
Cool. All right. So I always say if people got this far in the interview, so that we know that they made it this far, they need to go to your Instagram, whatever your last post at the time that they're listening to this. They're going to tag me at Ben Rovers World, so I know. And then tag you, or no, I don't have to tag you because they're coming on your shit, but put a hashtag that you choose. So you got to pick a hashtag.
Got to pick a hashtag.
So that way we know. Like, it's got to be like it can be anything, but.
Hashtag send it Ben.
Send it, Ben.
Yeah.
All right. We were also talking to, before
Steady
this,
Ben.
about Steady Ben. Send it, Ben. We were also talking to about starting another podcast that's called, what was it? It was about us taking.
Oh, yeah. So we both had to use the bathroom before there, and be like, that'd be a kind of sick podcast concept with two people like taking a shit at the same time, and call it shit talking.
Shit talking.
Shit
you like
talking
that?
with Ben Haggerty.
Yeah. So if you like that, also let us
It's like
know that in the
professional
comments.
style, you know,
Yeah.
because you don't see each other, but you're both dropping deuces at the same time.
Just having a good old conversation.
Yeah,
It should be
yeah.
called Legs Numb. He just talks
Yeah,
so
by
long
the
your legs
end, you're
go.
just like-
You can't even stand up anymore.
Yeah.
All right, cool. This was a great podcast. Oh, we should end this. We don't talk about the second part, but iconic time for me, at least. I don't know if it was for you. It was when we were setting up and Barack Obama walks through.
Oh, God.
And we
Please
said,
don't.
no, I know, not the second part. The first part, just him. Remember when we could hear his voice?
Yeah.
And we both like, oh shit, like here he
Like, oh,
comes.
we're about to meet the president.
And he's just like, hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, I'm Ben. Hey, I'm
was a
Andrew.
trip.
And he just walked by and we both looked at each other like, hell yeah, that shit
Yeah.
was tight.
That was definitely a life hammer.
I forget that happens. So, I mean, there's nothing out there about it or whatever, obviously, image-wise. There's no content. They wanted to keep that off the thing, I think. But, like, I forget that we did that. So, I was like, yo, that was pretty dope that we fucking...
Yeah, that was legendary. Just
Damn.
be in the same room at the same time.
Casually as fuck with his ill-ass security guards wearing, like, Hawaiian dad shirts.
Yeah, it was
Remember
sick,
that?
For sure.
So tight.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. How do you want to end this podcast?
I don't know. What do you usually do?
I just asked that question and see what you do.
Break your wrist?
Yeah, we can do that. So,
All right.
right here. 1, 2. Oh, you already did it?
1, 2, 3.
Bye, 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 bye. That's it for episode 69 with my boy Andrew White. That motherfucker is a beast. He is a beast. Make sure to follow Andrew on Instagram at, I think it's just Andrew Whitey on Instagram. Follow your boy. He's fucking killing it. Make sure to follow Black with No Cream on Instagram as well. We're, the podcast is killing it. Every person that listens to it, we appreciate you. So keep listening to the podcast. Make sure to subscribe if you don't, and leave comments and reviews and all that fucking glorious shit. Pick up the merch, bwnc.com/shop if you haven't gotten any yet, and support us on Patreon if you would like to go a little farther, because that makes us go a little farther in continuing to make these things. Yeah, man. I don't know. It's been a long day. The Coachella doc comes out tomorrow, so that's pretty crazy. So I'm just thinking about it a lot, you know? just thinking about how cool it's going to be to watch on Netflix. It's my second time having some shit come out on Netflix, so that's pretty dope. All right, I'm done talking. I appreciate everyone for listening to this shit. I'll see you on Wednesday. Yeah, on Wednesday. And every Sunday. You know the drill. Do I even need to do these anymore? I feel like everyone knows what I'm going to say. I'm just going to drink coffee out of this fucking amazing looking black with no cream mug and end the podcast this way. Goodbye.